Welcome out to today's episode of the podcast, episode 30. That's right, we're back at it with the podcast today. Joining me as always is SpeedSlasher, and I'm, of course, your host, Carl101. How's it going, man? It's been a minute.
And yeah, you know, that's the first time you called me SpeedSlasher in these podcasts.
Oh gosh, did I call you Speed? Yeah, we gotta restart. Gotta restart. Oh man. But yeah. Anyways, so we're back. We're in a recording environment.
New format.
Yeah. Instead of
look around you, Carl.
Yeah, and look, I'm in the same still kind of location that I've been in, but just in a different spot this time.
I'm in a completely different spot. I'm at home after moving back from the apartment.
Yes. So, but anyways, welcome to, it's going to be a little bit of a slightly changed format for our podcast. Not too different from what we've been kind of doing, but we have quite the show today. We're going to get started here with our intro segment here by talking about our lives and just kind of get you guys back up to speed with what's just kind of going on. And then afterwards, during our main subject topic. That's help me out here, man.
I hope that noise helped.
We'll be talking about Project Forest and just kind of going into depth of what kind of how all the process of that kind of went into effect. So
yeah, certainly. So I guess for me, I just kind of started talking about it. I moved back from the apartment. I'm back with my parents because I'm gonna be pursuing a master's degree for social sciences. Besides that, though, things have been pretty normative. I've wrapped up streaming games like My Sims Agents. That's what I was doing recently, and Hover and stuff with Tom. On Twitch, and I'm probably gonna start doing Chibi-Robo DS or something. I've been kind of excited because that's a game that's been never localized before, so I'm looking forward to that. And then whatever else, I've been also doing Check It Outs, which is a thing where I just play one-off. That's also been kind of relatively new.
Yeah, the one you played yesterday, that was really solid. I can't remember for the life of me what that game was called, but I remember actually.
It's a bit long. It's Kura 5, Bonds of the Undying. It's okay. Based off of Boktai. But I've been doing other stuff too, like Big's Big World.
Oh, yeah, I don't think I was able to make that one. That was fishing, wasn't it? Like it was...
Yeah, that one was really fun. It was an open world thing.
Yeah. And then we also did. So he actually got to it first. I was initially going to get to it, but one of our followers and viewers, by the name of Pixel, also gave us a game that we were able to play called Your Final Days.
Your Final Days.
And you were able to actually play. You played all three of his games too, right?
Yeah. So that was definitely an interesting progression through his work, and then seeing how he's grown as an artist. That's always fun to see, even within ourselves. So mm-hmm. I think he was probably embarrassed about it, though. It's like, oh no, my past.
Yeah.
I'm Troy.
He's not Troy. You've insulted the guy. How dare you?
So what have you been up to then?
Yeah.
You've been doing quite a bit.
Yeah, my life has been quite all over the place. My biggest struggle right now is I'm just trying to find time to make sure everything kind of has possibilities. For instance, right now, for those of you that do follow my stream. We no longer have been doing Speedy Sundays streams anymore, which is part of also why the podcast kind of came to an end for a while there, was because I just, with my time and schedule and what I'm doing in my life, I just don't have time. Right now, so I have two primary major focuses. I still very much so am into the streaming stuff. And, of course, YouTube, for those of you that are watching the channel and following my channel here, you will have seen that I released a 3-segment thing under the well, I guess it would just be called the project name of Project Forest, which turned out to be a review of Super Mario RPG, a review of
Legend of the Seven Stars. Say the whole thing.
Yeah, no. Super Mario role-playing game, Legend of the Seven Stars. There we go.
There you go.
Yeah, you thought Kura 5 was long. So which we'll get into a little bit later on here, but and then some other stuff as well. Since I'll be continuing to do reviews and stuff like that, I'll also be releasing Project Chase, which is the next one to come down the pipeline here. Um, Outside of that, I have been currently working with a band and trying to really gig around with that band. So we're in a pretty decent spot. We're very much so. We're a pretty good core collective. We know what we want. We kind of understand what we want, and we have all a pretty decent and solid drive to really sound as good as possible. So for even though that's a thing that I'll talk about, I do prefer to keep. There's two sides of me that I like to keep on the private side, so that'll just kind of be referred to as the band. Maybe someday I'll
Corduroy socks.
that joke was that was what name should I name the band kind of thing, and I think that was what he came up with first, was naming it Corduroy Socks.
This is a random combination of words, and then Carl's like, "I like it." It's like, "What? Oh no."
I do. I think it is a unique band name. It's not something I would use, but I could totally get down to listen to some Corduroy Socks. Like it's totally something that could
like an indie alt band.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, that's good to hear that you have, like, because, you know, a lot of bands, like, when they're starting, it could be pretty tough to find an agreement with things. But it seems like you guys are all kind of on the same page as of right now.
Yeah, for sure.
Until Yoko Ono comes along or something.
No, nothing like that yet. So, But yeah, so that's definitely been the two primary driving forces in my life, and trying to also make money and teach lessons as much as I can. So it gets really difficult trying to find time for just things anymore these days. So I apologize for having to kind of like kick you to the curb for not being able to do Speedy Sundays. We have other plans down the road to do video games with Speed here. We just have to find more times and line everything out and execute them. So, and Speed's probably looking at me right now, being like, "What the heck is he talking about? I don't remember talking about this."
No, no, I remember.
Okay, this is just I was just testing you.
So,
you get a gold star.
What else has been going on? Have you been looking at like game news or anything?
Yeah, so we wanted to start in this opening segment here talking about like game news and anything that's been of interest. And honestly speaking, the only thing that I guess there's one particular. Actually, you have something, right?
Yeah.
Why don't you go ahead and talk about it? Because I literally don't have anything.
I'll let you simmer your thought. And so there was a Nindies direct, and for me, the one that like caught my eye the most was Ooblets. I think I talked about this before.
I'm sorry.
On the podcast.
How do you spell that, please?
Ooblets.
Okay.
Ooblets. It sounds like a children's show. But this was kind of already released on Epic Games Store and Xbox. But I think the reason why I was like excited for it is because I think when I think of farming sims, I think of the Nintendo console. Like a lot of Harvest Moon games are on like SNES, N64, GameCube, Wii. They're all on those. So I feel like it going to the Switch is a good call. So basically, what Ooblets is it's like a farming sim and a monster trainer. So like you're raising your crops, and then those crops are monsters that you kind of run around the world with and fight other people with and stuff.
Okay.
So yeah, it's just another game that's up my alley. Just to clarify, I'm really into farming sims, or re-clarify.
So I'm looking at there's literally a website for Ooblets, ooblets.com.
Yeah.
So I'm looking on there, and there's an FAQ of what is this game, and it says, I won't go into everything here, but it's Ooblets. You farm. You grow pals on your farm. You have those pals do dance battles. You live in a town. Normal stuff.
I didn't read that. But that's so apt.
We worked really hard on it and think it's pretty fun. That's literally the first two sentences if you go to the FAQ for Ooblets. It's great.
You farm. I think all farming sims should clarify that you farm in them. Just in case you didn't know. Just in case you're like, does Farming Simulator 2022 include farming? Oh, it does? Oh, shoot. But obviously it was released before. There's a little bit of a stigma with Epic Games Store, and I don't have an Xbox, so but
So it's only on Xbox or Epic's box. Where's TF?
Epic.
It's coming to a Switch. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Cool.
But besides that, a lot. I haven't really been keeping my ear to the ground on like game news. The other one was like, this isn't quite game news, but Yu-Gi-Oh! They released a new ban list that
Or rather,
removed a lot of
yeah,
cards.
unban list more
From-
so.
Yeah, like everyone's talking about like heart of the card. Change of heart,
Yeah.
which is like a big one because that gives you basically +1 when it's like undeserved. They had another card called Mind Control that basically did the same thing, and it's like I don't know. It just really shows how the game's changed. Also, Yatagarasu was a super ban card. I think it was one of the first ban cards as well.
Yatagarasu. What?
So basically, what the card does is, in short, if you do a certain thing, it skips your opponent's draw phase. And there's something, a technique called Yata Lock, which would basically each turn you would remove the draw phase from someone. So they wouldn't be able to draw more cards. They'd be out of card advantage, and then they'd be like, oh no. But nowadays you have other stuff to kind of offset that. So
As the card description says for Yatagarasu, this card cannot be special summoned. This card returns to its owner's hand during the end phase of the turn. It is normal summoned or flipped up face up. When this card inflicts battle damage to your opponent, they skip their next draw phase. Wow.
Yeah. So there is a way to just consistently pull it back in and out to just prevent the draw phase. But nowadays, we have different cards that are just as crusty against it. And that's generally the idea of removing something off a ban list because time has progressed so much. So that's another thing where it's like, oh no, I feel old.
Yeah. Well, when I saw Change of Heart in there, I was like, isn't that a Generation 1 card?
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is.
So even I was like, really? After all this time, and Yu-Gi-Oh's been, Duel Monsters has been around since what, the 90s?
Like early or late 90s, early 2000s or so. Might not be the best time descriptor, but I think it's around that time frame.
If only I had the internet. Give me a second. Duel Monsters.
The interesting thing though is what preceded that was they removed Raigeki off the limited list, so you could run 3 copies of Raigeki if you want. So to clarify what that card does, it just you flip it over and then you destroy all your opponent's cards or attack monster cards. All your opponent's monsters. There we go.
Oh, this is really confusing on when. So what was the original? What came first? The anime, the manga, the game?
The manga.
Okay.
I think. Because that's when Yugi's like just killing dudes.
Before they made him more kid-like and actually like.
Yeah, before it was like an actual card game, and he wasn't just like, I'm going to stab you.
Got it. No, I don't want the series of Duel Monsters International Duel Monsters X. What? No, what? This game series, that one? Nope, that's the game.
Mind Crush.
Oh my god.
Carl's going down the wormhole.
I might need your help on this one. I need an expert to help me figure this one out. Oh my god.
Just say the oldest date. We'll go with that.
Oh, I guess here's a question. Is it Yu-Gi-Oh or is it Duel Monsters?
Just Yu-Gi-Oh.
That's the original thing. Is Yu-Gi-Oh. Trading card game.
Yeah.
Here we go. Oh my goodness. 99. Okay. All right. 23 years ago.
Okay, yeah.
So that card probably was in the works or in what's it called in a not sequence when
Limbo.
No when it was in use for
when it was just out.
Yeah.
Basically.
So that was probably in there for probably a good 3 or 4 years, and then they were like, oh no, this card's probably bad, and then they probably banned it.
Yeah, because they weren't banning cards until like later, like Pot of Greed. Pot of Greed's still gonna stay banned for a while, folks. That ain't.
I like that card.
But what does it do?
It gives you 2 more cards.
You're not supposed to answer that. So that's basically what's piqued my interest. I'm not an avid Yu-Gi-Oh player, but I follow things here and there. Like I don't go to tournaments or nothing. So
Yeah. But yeah, that's honestly speaking, I don't think there's much else in the news segment. Like there was a Subway video that came out, and it's interesting because so obviously Unreal Engine is a very big like it's always been on this like, hey, check this graphical thing out right now.
yeah.
So they released this Subway video, and like I gotta say for the first half, I was puzzled and lost because I actually thought that this was just
It was real.
yeah, but eventually, like as it kind of got going further and further, like your eyes are eventually able to see all the what would it be, the inaccuracies of like real life.
Yeah,
versus,
I think it's when it turned to night is when I started to realize.
yeah, and I was like, okay, this is a little more fake. This isn't how our eyes like work, or this isn't how cameras capture stuff. So, but
Right.
like you gotta be impressed by when even just for a little bit your mind and eyes kind of get tricked into believing that like something is real. So, I
Yeah, it's like when people draw realistic things, and then you're like, "Oh, that's not a picture; that's a painting."
yeah, so
And it creeps me out, man. Uncanny.
but yeah, so that was the, and then the only other thing I have to really talk about is I guess the whole Square dropping like all the stuff all the American title or all their American companies to a company called Embracer. That was like the other thing that was like, wow, that's
That was major, but like I also no comment. Take better care of your IPs, man. They have this cash cow. They have Final Fantasy 14, and then they're like, "Yeah, let's make Babylon's Fall." And
yeah, I
but like I feel like I don't want to get into that.
no, I don't either. I was just that was the biggest thing. I'm like, I don't really like. There's a couple of IPs that I know of in there, but like I was like, okay, sure, why not go for it, Square Enix, you got this. So I'm like, all right, that's
And they clearly don't.
so I don't know.
Square Enix is kind of renowned for fumbling the ball on a lot of their like
No.
business decisions. They're
No.
like, put your faith in Nintendo, Square Enix, Bethesda, the three Bs, man: BioWare, Blizzard, Bethesda. Can never go wrong.
Yeah. All right. So let's see. Let me look at my notes here. I don't think I have too much else to talk about. If we might be getting ready to go ahead and just kind of go straight into.
Yeah, let's transition to this. So, again, Carl kind of talked about it. He made a big project, so it involved a review, a playthrough, a long play rather, and a music box. So, I guess just to start off, what inspired you to start Project Forest?
So this all stemmed from a lot of and I want to make this clear. Like I really do appreciate everybody who gives me criticism and feedback and stuff. But sometimes I do get to a point where it becomes too much, and there it kind of got to that point where I was feeling kind of almost backed into a corner from just all the criticism and comments that I would get by like people being like, you should do this, you should do that, you should do it this way, you should do it that way. And it's like, this is just at the end of the day, like, my Twitch, my channel is my stuff. So, and it was interesting because like at that time I was just kind of scrolling back through my channel, which, takes forever to do, by the way, because there's so much stuff in there throughout all the years. And, I had started the review segments on my channel literally started out as a joke between me and Troy. I used to be, and I still probably kind of am these days. But more so back in the day when I would just kind of like say how I felt about something. Generally, I'd say 9 out of 10 times I'd probably say it's just all right or it's just okay. And like that's just how my mind process things. Like I don't know.
Right, definitely.
And I might come off as somebody that does kind of become more hard to impress, I guess, or and then maybe that's just who I am as a person, and that's just how I kind of perceive and understand things. But I looked at that, and I looked back at the more recent reviews that I had done, and I was like, well, I mean, these are okay, I guess. They're not really edited that well, and they don't really have too much direction. I'm like, what if I tried? what if I tried something really difficult and because like I had been really getting into a couple of just review channels and stuff, and I'd also been getting into there's a newer I wouldn't say it's like super new or anything like that, but it's definitely been kind of on the more like from 2018 to like now kind of aspect of stuff that's been kind of really building steam, which is story based review and review of gameplay. So instead of it being just like review the game or just like show funny moments of the game or interesting moments, it was like you would take like your time through like a session of Rust, and you would record the whole thing, and obviously you would kind of like put in the moments where your gameplay and stuff was, but you'd also you'd put a story arc over it. You would explain all the background and all the the things that were kind of going in one's mind and stuff like that. And that was kind of like the idea. I really liked that thought and idea, and I said to myself, I still like doing the review stuff. How can I kind of like put those two together? And that's where it ended up becoming, like I wanted to do that review where, I put my thoughts kind of at the beginning and the end of the game, but also kind of just like went through how I kind of look through the entirety of the game. And that's why I wanted to make it longer in that aspect. And that's why it ended up taking so long, is because I wanted to document, my thoughts and opinions while still kind of putting that reviewer's aspect throughout the entire game. So
just to interject, since this is a
ahead.
3-segment thing, did you do the long play first and then the review?
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's I had to. So my process for doing all this is the long play comes first. The gameplay comes first, because like how am I supposed to talk about something until I play it? And like when you get done with like playing through an entire game, your mind is set and your mind is filled with information on like how you kind of go from that. So yeah, in that case, how the long plays are built, they're segmented into each and every different section and every different basically recording segment that I wanted to do. So in this case, I did 7 segments of Super Mario RPG, and I recorded each one at a time. So I will say the first 5 segments were very nice and easy. The last 2 segments were absolutely miserable because both of those were like 4-hour recording sessions, which was awful. I don't ever recommend that for anybody. But that's just kind of the nature of how you kind of go about this kind of stuff when you try to segment it as best as you can. Let me think here. But going back into that, yeah, so I wanted to get that done first, and I've been trying really hard to make sure that I build myself into a consistency and build myself into like a schedule of how I want to go about this. Because, so like with Project Chase right now, I finished the long play a little while ago, and I just finished the script Tuesday. This is, by the way, I should mention that we are recording this on a Friday to release probably on Saturday or Sunday. So this will be past recording and stuff like that too. Where was I? So yeah. So as soon as that the long play stuff is completely done, then I move on to the primary part, which is really the review in that regard, and then afterwards is just bonus stuff, which is at the very least the music box. I want to make sure that at least one of those goes up with this, basically a package deal with this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think it's got a great flow to it because music's very important to you. So I think that's definitely going to be the unique thing about this whole thing. Obviously, it's not part of the review itself, but it's part of the whole like how you're going to approach your content from here on out. Maybe.
Right. So, but yeah, it's so going back into a little bit earlier, just like the inspiration and stuff. The other thing I wanted to kind of get back into was, and I feel like this kind of frustrated you, but like kind of in a good way, because I kind of wanted it to be like that, which ended up working out great for everybody. It was, I really enjoy, and this isn't to say that I like just keeping secrets or anything like that, but I do enjoy keeping a lot of like this kind of stuff secret until I'm ready to just kind of like drop everything, because I feel like there is kind of like this magical feeling when like I'm like, here it all is, enjoy.
It's like when a game studio is like, hey, we were actually working on this and it's out today. It's kind of like that.
Yeah, and it's just because like if I announce it earlier, it goes back into that, like then people start to be like, you should make sure you add this into there, you should make sure you add that into there, and like yeah, okay, that's great, but sometimes like I feel almost guilty that I start to not be able to kind of do that kind of stuff, it's a frustrating balance because like sometimes that stuff that gets like thrown in there, or like some stuff that gets suggested is like actually helpful stuff to to myself. But at the same time, like then there's stuff where it's just like I don't necessarily agree with what people want to have me do or think that I should do, and then I just get I get frustrated because I don't want to do it, and I get sad because like I feel like I'm almost like letting them down. So in this case, because I'm not doing that, and I'm waiting until the project is basically finished. There's not any room for that to end up happening, which as much as it might be, I guess, for lack of a better term, hurtful to people, like it really unstresses me from that, and it really allows me to honestly be who I am without any concern, issue, or anything like that. It allows.
I would say what it does is it makes sure that, because there's still a lot of venues you can still get input from, but what this offers you is a venue to just do what you specifically want to do without any hindrance. Like it's your own creative project.
Mm-hmm.
And of course you've gotten input about this one and you can carry that to your next one. But for the most part, any aspect of this thing, you could feel like, oh, this was entirely under my own power, and I'll only be under scrutiny for it like when I'm done with it, rather than its process. And I see what you're saying, because it's like that can also feel a little like, oh, selfish. It's like, or like stubborn to a degree. It's like, oh, you're not going to change this thing. But at the same time, this is at its core something that you're doing because you're motivated by it. You're passionate about doing this. So I don't think it's too like something to beat yourself over, because there's always going to be other aspects, like your band, you're going to be like doing something and then someone's going to be like, oh, I think you should change that, so I think you have this this platform that you want to approach. I think you're fine.
Yeah, for sure. So I will say though that putting this all together, I was not expecting it to take this long, for sure. And I've been trying to eye myself to get like one, each project done within a month span of stuff, but I said to myself that I wasn't going to just entirely live up to that as much as I wanted to. It's just, I think I'll hinder myself if I end up saying to myself, I have to cut this segment out, because I have to make a time slot. And I think that just it works better. It feels better when stuff just kind of comes out when it comes out, as opposed, it's kind of the problem that's going on in the video game industry with a lot of games, is that they are just releasing stuff a little too early. They announced everything way up front, then
put an oven.
Yeah, they just they set the timer on the oven, and that's all they apparently give themselves. They don't want to throw it back in after it's done. So
and then Gordon comes in. He's like, it's raw.
It's raw. I don't want raw. I don't like raw. I want cooked. I want nice and tasty on my product.
It's crazy that some people are like, but look at Cyberpunk. It was delayed. It wasn't delayed enough.
Yeah.
It still needed more time. They took it out when it was still red.
Yeah, now everybody's poisoned. Eating their uncooked chicken.
But I think that's kind of a good analogy. I think within this particular like modern time, everything's like, we got to get this out. We have investors to please. The only investors you have to please are your patrons at patreon.com/Carl.
It's true, which is and that's yeah. We might as well talk about that really quick. So yeah, if you want to come help me support me and anything like that, remember, at the end of the day, remember that like nobody is ever required to or needs to feel obligated to please donate to me. But if you'd like, I do release all that stuff on an early basis. So once it's done, most people are gonna have a week before they're able to watch everything, and then you'll actually get the benefit of being able to watch it earlier, before everybody else. So there's that. Oh, excuse me. What else is on there? at each community month, we'll be doing I'm going to have a big old hexagonal board, and every month I'm going to go ahead and sign your name on there during my community night streams. Which next one I think is going to be May 30th, if I recall. I still haven't actually.
28th, I
Is
think.
it 28th? You're right. It is
Isn't
the
it?
28th. Okay.
Man, it's your own channel.
I know. I don't. No, there's been a lot of just like scheduling kerfuffles going on with this weekend, because that's Memorial Day weekend as well. So like there's everybody is trying to take as much time as possible for things, because everybody's literally off at that point. So but yeah, it is going to be May 28th. It'll be starting at 5 p.m. Central Time. We do lots. Everybody's welcome, by the way. You're welcome to come and join us. We're probably going to do some more Jackbox and other assorted games to play. But yeah, so if you do join the Patreon for that, you are going to get your name onto a big old giant hexagonal board. We're going to finally do that at this first one. Right now, it's just Tom. So if you want Tom to be the only one to truly show everybody else up, then so be it. Tom will be literally the best. I'll have to bring back the Hexa best category, or Bestagon or whatever, in my Discord for that.
Tom's one of our friends, by
yeah,
the way.
he is. Tom's great. So
Going back to then the review aspect, hexagons. What did you think about like the hexagon scoring system? Like, what made you think that those aspects were what you wanted to focus on, such as like uniqueness? Because I feel like that's such a hard, arbitrary thing to otherwise quantify and stuff like that. I think it's a fun scoring system because it fits into your theming though. But
so the scoring system for the reviews and stuff, that was probably one of the last things I actually like kind of thought about, because I went back and forth for a while saying to myself whether or not I wanted to actually even do a scoring system. Because, like, I could have just done, like, 10 out of 10, blank out of 10 or blank out of 5 or something like that. Or, I could have, like, there's also, like, the goofy ones. I think Pro Jared does one where it's just, like, I'll give this one, a cereal box out of, like, 10 or something like that, stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of quirky review. Like, I think Cadicarus uses salvage or shoot in the head.
Yeah. So I said to myself, I'm like, well, I mean, we already have a hexagonal theme here, so maybe I should just make it out of 6. But then I got the idea of like, well, what if we take this a little bit more interesting? Because, like, honestly speaking, like, if you look at the scoring system, it's not 6 out of 6. It's 36 out of 36.
Yeah. Because you're combining all of them together, like Famitsu.
Yeah, so like when you think about it, because like each category has a 0 through 6, and so then I just add up all the points from that, and it's kind of an interesting scoring system, because like you would think that like even though like I'd give like maybe a game like a 6 out of 6 for uniqueness, like that's great and all, like a game could be super unique, but like that doesn't excuse it for just flat out sucking and flat out being an awful game to control. Like, if your controls are 1 out of 6, but yeah, you made it unique, like, well, I mean, like, it's got to be noted, it's got to be understood. So it kind of it puts that together where it's like, yeah, okay, it's a unique game, but because you can barely control it, like, it's only gonna get a 3 out of 6 in that case. So
that's interesting, because like I feel like a lot of like, I think LSD Dream Emulator does not control well at all, but it's very unique. So, like, when you're scoring the controls, do you like take the uniqueness into account for that game, for example?
Well, let's just kind of like I'll do a super really quick mini review on that. Like, we'll just kind of focus on like kind of scoring that game. So like, yeah, I would also agree that like LSD Dream Emulator, and for those of you that are like, what the heck is LSD Dream Emulator? LSD Dream Emulator is a PlayStation 1 game that was only released in Japan. It stands for what? Life Sensuous Dream?
It stands for a lot of things. It's like they change it each time you boot up the game.
Oh yeah, that's true. But I think its initial true like actual like if you wiki it, I'm pretty sure it's what, Life Sensuous Dream though.
Probably. I'll look that up while you keep.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. So the idea behind the game, honestly speaking, like it's not. It is a game, and it's more of like a playground kind of game at its core. You boot up the game, and the whole point of the game, realistically speaking, is to kind of just go around and explore worlds thought up probably while you're dreaming in a sense.
Yeah.
And so it has a lot of unique concept because like it's really it's terrible on the eyes, but it's also kind of great on the eyes because like you'll look at stuff and like it's literally an art perspective too because some people are gonna look at that kind of thing and be like, oh my god, that's awful looking. That's why would anybody enjoy this? Whereas other people are gonna be like, wow, that's amazing to look at.
That's striking.
Yeah,
You know?
and that's kind of like the basis of art is that even though some people are like, I hate this, versus some people are like, oh my god, I love this. Like that's art. That's inspiring the emotion and stuff. So when you look at that kind of game and you think about that, like yeah, there's a lot of uniqueness because and especially at that time there wasn't really much of that kind of thing going on. Nowadays we have a lot more of that with being able to realistically like create games with game makers and stuff, and even like just kind of building stuff in games like Gmod and even using Unreal Engine now is a jumping point for that kind of thing. So,
I mean, Dreams. You were talking about that. That it was definitely inspired by LSD Dream Emulator. Actually, I think,
yeah.
From what I recall.
So, but like when you look at the other side of LSD, it's so weird talking about LSD. I'm not gonna lie. The game like from a control aspect is. I'm sorry, I gotta say it's god awful. Like it's some of the worst controls that you can possibly.
Because I think it's tank controls as well.
No, it's
kinda?
not tank controls. It's more of like path controls. So like if you think about like how you the smooth aspect of walking around in like a first person, because it is played in first person. I'm a person that will always stand by the fact that mouse and keyboard is way better than controller can ever do in its life. And you just get more smoothness and everything like that. So when you think about LSD Dream Emulator, you're basically kind of on a track in that sense because the PlayStation is only so limited. You're only limited to a D-pad. So you have to really like figure out like stuff like how do I look up and down? How do I look around in this world where the whole thing is an aesthetic of like looking at art and understanding and trying to just interpret things as they are. So unfortunately, like that's a perfect example of like uniqueness gets probably the 6 out of 6 for sure, and controls probably get like maybe a 2 because like it's not the worst controlled game like it functions well enough, but like it's still something to be desired in that regard. But then you look at like music and music's there. It's something. I'd probably give it like a 3 because like I don't sit there and whistle tunes and stuff from LSD Dream Emulator.
Oh, you okay, man? I'm disagreeing with this review already.
Yeah, and then maybe actually it's probably maybe down to like a 2 or something like that because like I'm just it's just something that's just how you kind of that's the thing with reviews too. Is like they're always going to be subjective. Yeah. That's fine if you're just going to disagree with the review. Like I'd welcome it honestly. But like yeah, so then like graphics are a thing to take into consideration, and like it's kind of a weird set because like some of those things graphically speaking look absolutely awful, but like when you think about how they like reinterpret and really kind of use the color scheme in that game to like change things around, and especially like when you wake up from day to day or when you wake up in the dream from day to day, some things that are completely graphically different from other things, just based on they want to give this perception of like trying to throw your mind off in that regard. So like I almost want to give points back to graphics and kind of like, and this is where it like just okay and just all right kind of sit nicely within the grading scale because like I'd probably say graphics in that game are just okay. I think its big hindrance is that it is PlayStation polygonal early era graphics. So like by today's standpoint, like all that jaggedy sharpness in that probably doesn't stand up as well. So like, but it could be really saved like if it got like either a remaster or something where it just kind of like smooth a lot of that stuff out, because then I think you could really play around with being able to add more into that game and stuff. And then then there's other categories too, like story is another one of the categories I have. That one I'd probably give it just like a 3 out of 3 only just because they're
3 out of 6.
I'm sorry, 3 out of 6.
It's like perfect score.
Because like when you talk about story, like there's no given story. You wake up and you kind of like make up your own story, and like that shouldn't be like necessarily. It can be done really well, and I think the game kind of does do it all right in that regard. But the biggest thing of why it loses a lot of points is like there's not enough direction. There's there's too much. My biggest issue with that game, why we ended up stopping to play, was like I don't know what to do. What else? I know there's a lot of stuff to do, but there ended up being a lot of times where like we would just kind of explore the same area over and over again, and it's like, okay, well, there's nothing that's changing, but like you still feel like there's something out there to do, but like there's not enough direction and stuff, you know. And then like this one's the hardest one, which is difficulty and pacing. Your difficulty curve is literally you only have so much time where you're sleeping, and your pacing is that there's so many things to explore. And I'd probably almost give this game a little bit less of a score just because the pacing is weird. Like you go, you know, like when you start off, the pacing feels great because there's so much to explore. But then like you get to that point where it's like, where do I go now? What do I do? And it takes a while before like you find stuff. So maybe people like that kind of stuff because that does kind of become, you know, a puzzleistic aspect to it. But I would say that like it's still kind of frustrating, and that was part of my big frustration when it came to that game, was that like pacing would just kind of like stop. I'd be like stuck, and not in the good kind of video game stuck where it's like I just need to like really work myself harder. It was more of just like I don't know what to do, and there's nothing I can really do to like fix this. So, have you been keeping score at home? Comment down below if you have, because I sure as heck haven't.
I think this game basically off your score, I think would have gotten like a 24, 5.
So that's almost 4 out of 6, I think. So that, I mean, like even still, that gives it a pretty solid rating. Yeah. Or well, I shouldn't say solid. Solid's 5 out of 6. So that puts it into the just all right category. For those of you that are wondering what the categories are, there's unbelievable, that's perfect. Solid, which is 5 out of 6. Just all right, which is 4 out of 6. Just okay, which is 3 out of 6. I think 2 is some variant of bad. I actually don't remember, and I need to really remember what that was. And
is 1 awful?
No, 1. Oh no, 2 is awful, and 1 is unbadleavable. that because like it's just like it's unbelievable, but it's in such a bad manner that like how do you manage that? Like it's.
But you saw it here first, folks. You know that's if you didn't see Project Forest, but you watched this, now you want to know how it went. If you want to watch the long play, you could watch the Speedy Sunday of it on the pods.
It's true
for Carl. But like I to go back because I didn't realize we actually could talk so much about LSD. But I kind of want to just say, for the control, you're in a dream. You can barely control your dreams in real life unless you're like super lucid dreaming. So that's why I thought like it kind of controlling poorly added to it. So like that's kind of why I brought it up to begin with, because you know if it's solely about dreams and how do you navigate them is oftentimes, if you're not a lucid dreamer, like you're on the track, you're on the path. So I don't know. I guess that's where I kind of stand on the game, where it's like, sometimes you have these repeat dreams, sometimes you have all these things. So I think it's more, we have these different approaches, and I think that's definitely the fun of Project Forest, because, you know, some of the things you brought up, you know, can vary between people. But what I think was the most interesting part of the Project Forest. Let's go back.
Yeah,
to
for
Project
sure.
Forest. Let's leave LSD.
We're done doing LSD.
Like what I really liked about the review is, like, for one, it was well shot. I really liked you have the ring lights out, or the umbrella things and all that. But also I like the music freak out. I think that's also something you should really capitalize on, is like, obviously don't become just a music reviewer. They were like looking at the theory, but I think seeing you delve into like, oh, this is a Tchaikovsky or something, you know, really interesting.
Yeah,
it was Tchaikovsky.
Yeah, so his name is Todorowsky. That's his which is based off of the Peter Tchaikovsky. But yeah. So like that's definitely. I mean, like that's why a category like music. That's why I'm trying to like why I thought all the 6 of those bases like kind of covered everything too, was because like I felt like that just kind of like retrospectively just like puts everything into perspective.
Right.
So, but yeah, I for sure, like, because like the next one, Project Chase definitely is gonna have some talking to about music and stuff, which I I'm gonna be kind of I'll spoil this and nothing else more. I'm gonna be interested to see what people actually think about what I have to say about the music for this next game, because I feel like I'm gonna get a lot of disagreement from people, and that's okay because that's just my opinion.
Yeah, and now that I don't know what it is, that's potentially like, it might be a game with a well-renowned soundtrack that Carl's disagreeing with.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
you know.
So, but yeah, going back into it. So yeah, to kind of close off on just the review scale stuff. Yeah, that was definitely a last minute thing that I put in. And I don't know, something kind of clicked with me. I'm like, well, hexagonal, well, 6. I guess I could make 6 out of, or something out of 6. And then I was like, all right, well, let's have 6 categories, and we'll just like kind of build it off of that. We'll use the little my teal. What color is the hexagon actually? What color is Howie?
Here, put him up on the screen. What do you guys think? I say it's like a turquoise.
Yeah, I'd probably say turquoise-ish as well. But I'm not 100% sure, because like he just, I don't know. It's
It's like the blue to green spectrum. If you guys don't know, I'm the artist of the channel, so I should be able to answer this. And if you disagree, that's very unfortunate.
I was waiting for you to be like, oh, Howie, he's 1738 FF.
You wanted the hexadecimal.
Yeah,
code.
because hexagon.
Okay, you know what? Let's talk about you talk about Hexagon Howie, his edition, and I'll give you the hexadecimal code.
So okay, so yeah, it's no secret that there's a little guy that showed up every now and then to like. I don't know if he's against me or for me yet. I that's something that's going to be a story arc throughout all of these reviews on whether or not
Story arc.
whether or not he's really on my side or he's really against me. And he just wanted to be a snarky character, and I think it's going to be kind of a mixture of both at the end of the day. But I was like, Speed, what can you do? How did that conversation end up starting? Wasn't it like we need a logo with
mascot?
With my face or something. Yeah, mascot then. All right. And
for the Discord and stuff.
Yeah.
Are you talking about?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So like he turns around and he puts my grumpy me face, like from me's from the Nintendo Wii and Wii U, and he's like, which he literally titles the picture, "I have no gosh darn idea, Carl." And it was like, I love it. That's exactly what I wanted. It was perfect. And so then it became an idea of like, okay, so how do we turn this into a character now? And so I just threw 2 arms and 2 legs, and he happens to have hexagonal palms and hexagonal feet as well. So like it, and then we were just like, okay, what's the name? And I think somebody just kind of suggested Howie for a name. So I'm like, Howie the Hexagon. It's perfect. It's goofy, but it's perfect, and that's how Howie became a thing. So, and then. So the real joke behind Howie the Hexagon, which people didn't fully understand, and I didn't expect a lot of people to truly understand, was how Howie talked. And that's a whole process on how I made that a thing, because oh my god, was that a nightmare thing to do. But at the same time, sometimes like those like long drawn out things in the editing department sometimes kind of pay off, because I think the idea and the goofiness behind him makes him unique enough where he kind of sticks out on top of everybody else as when it comes to like characters and stuff. So for those that don't, and this is a musical thing, so for those that are not familiar, I recommend you highly look up something called The Lick, which we'll probably just put like a really quick clip right in front of us right now. Wow, that was great. Didn't you think that was great?
I was like, maybe I could play it, but no, it's.
Yeah. So the lick is just, somebody figured out that you can kind of just like take these 8 or 9 notes and just kind of like turn them into a jazz kind of thing, and I got this terrible but brilliant idea. I'm like, what if I took the lick and took all of Howie's syllables and mix them together, and
so then they sound like this.
yeah. So every time Howie now talks, he sounds like the lick every single time. So Howie is a combination of my interest in hexagons plus my interest in music. So whether or not that makes my life more miserable or great, I don't know. But I hope that like you appreciate the editing that goes to go into it, because now when I make a thing for Howie, I have to go about this in a few different ways. Either A, I can just like speak the line normally. B, I can actually attempt to sing the line as the lick, which is very miserable and difficult to do. Or what I do is where I do every single syllable possible. So if I want to say the line like, let's say, this game is very, very great, I have to go, this line is very very great. And I had to like make sure, and this is where it becomes even more complicated, which is
You didn't even say the same thing. You said this line is very great, not this game is very great.
sorry, you get what I'm saying. So then I have to, yeah. So then I have to go through those, kind of like condense them together to make them more sentence structured, like, and then I have to take them into what's called Melodyne, which is basically a pitch shifter, and shift each of the pitches so that they're properly understood with the lick itself. So then it becomes like, it sounds literally like this game is very, very great, and so forth, without anything that he says. So, yeah, miserable, but at the same time, really hysterically funny. And we talked to this is one Howie was one of the things that ended up being something that I wish I could have gotten some sort of a critique from, because like most people agreed that he was very difficult to understand. And that
Right. And
that was a problem with me, just because like when you hear the line so many times over and over and over again, like you just remember it and you just like are able to hear it. But unfortunately for everybody else, like I don't send this through like a test screening or anything, or I didn't send it through a test screening. So it's just one of those like you live and learn, and hopefully next time Howie's going to sound much better.
Right, and that's definitely the challenge, because there are some reviewers who have like a little buddy mascot, and it could be hard to integrate them in a natural way. And I felt like Howie was a little bit like a little not as natural, but it's also like because he came out of nowhere. He was like, "Oh, it's Howie the Hexagon,"
He did.
like I think if you're like, oh yeah, he's the mascot for Hexagon Inc. And not even knows what Hexagon Inc. is, which is a weird thing. It's like, oh, I like Super Hexagon, so I like Hexagon.
Yeah, so like, yeah, to kind of go into it really, the whole Hexagon thing was like, I like a game called Super Hexagon. It's a very simple. You could beat the game in 6 minutes if you're really that good. All it is just a basic. I wouldn't say it's a Flash game, but it's kind of like in that realm and era of Flash games. So, I enjoyed that game, and I started to kind of just rave up about it, and then eventually I was like, well, hexagons are pretty cool, and then I was like, and then just kind of kept going and going and going, and then eventually it was just,
the pipeline.
So eventually, like, we started making these jokes and stuff about, like how if you work for me, you work at Hexagon Inc. So then that's just kind of how it became. So Hexagon Inc. isn't like technically a real thing. It's just more of a joke made up thing to establish ourselves as a business of some sort. But yeah, that's the premise of how the whole hexagonal aspect of my channel just kind of like blew up into my own personality too for that. So, but yeah, that was the other thing that was kind of problematic, was that Howie did just kind of show up, and I didn't really like properly introduce the little guy. And I don't know, maybe that'd be more fun. Maybe it was funnier that way, because I don't know, like
no one was
yeah,
expecting.
maybe it left people to the.
But not everything should be. The people didn't expect it. They didn't expect Lego Underground to not be Project Chase.
Yeah.
Undercover rather. So I guess I don't want to say let's bookend this, but rather, what do you feel like went right with your review, and what do you feel like you specifically needed to improve about it?
Okay, so I'll start with what I need to improve. Obviously Howie, we just talked about that, so okay, cool. There's a lot of talk about whether or not the length of the of that review was too long or not, and personally myself, I am not actually going to take that criticism. And the reason for that is because every review is going to be a different length. And if I restrict myself to ever trying to say to myself that like I have to keep reviews to like 15 minutes long, it will become inherently impossible. Like it will become the most difficult thing possible to do ever. Be-
It's like write this in 100 words or less.
oh my god, I hate doing that. Like I grew up in a time where like writing a 500-word essay was like the most miserable pile of garbage ever. I got to college once, and the first time I ever had to write something in 100 words or less, I did not understand the real challenge of writing until I had to do something like that. Because like when you start to really think about and understand like what to write about, like you realize that 100 words is like what 2 to 3 sentences max at that point. Like
Yeah, especially if you
like 2 to 3 descriptive
use
sentences.
semicolons and start spicing up.
Yeah,
your
like you get through like your first topic of your 100 words, and you're like, oh my god, I haven't even gotten like through the preface of my topic yet, and I'm out of space already. So, but yeah, it's the thing more so is that like some games are longer and some games are shorter, and that's just how it's gonna be. So. Like some of these shorter games that I've been considering doing, like they might only be 5 to 10 minutes for a review, something like. And the thing too was that like when you guys think about it, like Super Mario RPG it's an RPG. I mean, I know I explained that RPG as a title is a goofy thing in video game world, but like when you still think of the genre in itself as like the turn-based role-playing RPG with mountains upon mountains upon mountains of story, yeah, there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to consider. There's a lot to go about. In Project Chase here, there isn't that. I don't think there's that much story. And if I remember correctly of how I wrote the script out and everything, like the script is shorter. I'm pretty sure. The review altogether is going to be a shorter thing. Like, and that's just like none of the format or anything is going to change from that. So, so yeah, I don't think I really need to fix anything as far as my length and stuff. And the only things that I'd say realistically that I really needed to work on, a little bit more is that sometimes I do get into a very fast talking speed. And I do need to kind of stop that from time to time. Like I it's just a bad habit, all things considered. And sometimes I catch myself, and sometimes I'm able to go back and be like, all right, I could say this line slower. Like if I say this is a very, very good game versus like this is a very, very good game. Like the second one is much more wanted just because of like it was more dictated.
It's easier to follow.
Yeah, and it was just it rolled off the tongue better, and it felt grammatic. Like even though grammar is based off of how the word sounds, like I also feel like there's a little bit of a section of grammar where this kind of says like your rhythm and stuff on how you talk like can kind of be applicable to.
I think it's more just speech.
Yeah,
it's like enunciation. That's prose.
It is.
Pacing.
Yeah, you're probably correct. It is probably more so speech than anything. So, but yeah, so those would be the things I'd probably say like really needed some more work. I was really happy with quite a bit actually. Like I wanted. I didn't set myself a time limit for when I wanted to release Project Forest. It was more of just whenever it was done, was the kind of thing. And that's why I'm kind of more on this, the factor of like Project Chase will release when it's ready to release, when it's not raw. But the thing with Project Force that I was really happy about was number one, I felt very happy with the fact that like all of it was really based on myself. I added the entire thing. I scripted the entire thing. I wrote the how everything wanted to kind of be. And the fun thing about that too is that like it opened my eyes because I've always been a really bad rough draft writer. I've never been good at that, but in this case I took the time to actually write out a rough draft. And then as I went through everything, I added and changed and fixed a lot of that stuff after I put the script away, which is a nice thing with Project Chase because like I haven't seen that script since Tuesday. And when I finally get a chance to actually, sit down, because like I'm gonna go into where I'm at right now and start doing the live recording and everything of that. I'm gonna be able to go back to it and be like change a lot of stuff and add a lot of stuff and kind of focus a lot of stuff. So I think the process of how it all went was like perfect in my mind, and everything was exactly how I wanted it to kind of be. What else was I gonna say? I thought the fun of it was also there, and that was my biggest thing. Was I wanted to make sure that the fun stayed constant through all of it. And there was obviously times where I was just like, this is taking too long, but
Yes, especially during I would imagine where that hit is probably the editing
yeah.
phase is definitely where it's like, this puzzle.
And when you think about it, like some instances of editing, like sometimes a minute's worth of editing can take an hour like for that case. I mean, like if you think about like movies and stuff, like sometimes a second in a movie can take an hour to edit just because of
Yeah, like animation
Yeah.
is millions of no, not millions of hours, but a lot of time for 2 seconds of a guy waving his hand.
Yeah. So yeah, that's my only downfall is that like because I have to edit the entire thing, it takes the longest amount of time possible, unfortunately. But at the same time, like I kind of want to keep it like this for now, just because like it invokes my style, and it also invokes me to challenge myself to greater and better aspects. Because like when it comes to editing, I have been in this like back and forth on whether or not I want to just take the time and truly kind of like learn how to edit, or if I want to just send it off to someone and have them edit it for me because they're inherently better at editing. So
Right, you'll notice a lot of reviewers like Brutal Moose and stuff like that. They I don't know if he's quite a reviewer, but he's more like a experienced kind of guy. But still, he'll send it to like someone else, and then but obviously we don't quite have that luxury at the
Correct.
moment of being able to send it off and then pay him.
So if you want to donate so that we can get this luxury, and then we'll be able to get you more content, guys, hit us up. I'm sorry, not Reddit. Patreon. Donate there. You can also
Well, are we gonna get the gold award? The hug.
But yeah, I was really happy with just about everything that went down with that review. I think I nailed the nail on the head when it came to probably most of it. And I was really happy how much people actually were accepting and actually enjoyed the mystery around
Rey Mysterio.
the whole thing. And I'm enjoying it again, watching Project Taste kind of slowly unravel too. So like it's exactly what I think what I've been needing in my life and exactly what I want in my life, and I'm super excited to continue pressing forward with everything about it in my life.
That's definitely great because like for me like I haven't really been watching reviews. I think a lot of the stuff I've been watching are like video essays, which are kind of reviews in a sense, but I don't watch them.
I mean,
often.
technically speaking, like mine kind of is a video essay too in a lot of the regards. So.
Yeah, but like well, I was thinking of like how Defunct Land. I watched that, and then Summoning Salt. There, he does speedruns, and then he reviews. He documents speedruns, and then Defunct Land documents how the failing of like a ride or something. But outside of that, like it felt really nostalgic because like I haven't really been watching reviewers do reviews in a long time. I don't know if I fell off. So watching that, I felt like you hit all the steps that a lot of other reviewers have been doing, but you kind of had your own flair, your own spin, and just because you're doing something that like other people have done doesn't mean it's not unique in a sense, So I think I look forward to whatever the heck Project Chase is because you want to tell us.
Also, I just really want to talk about that was also one other big thing that was very bothersome in my mind was that reviews have been the thing prior to the internet too. So like when you do reviews, like I really wanted to kind of focus on trying to find the most unique aspect of being able to do a lot of those reviews, and I'm hoping that when it comes down to it, I haven't seen anybody be like you sound or do things like this guy here. Which is great. When I don't see that means that I'm doing things as unique as possible. When I see people that are like, yeah, you're just like these guys too. It's like, okay, that's cool. I mean, that's definitely an achievement and stuff. But like for myself, like especially in today's social media and content creation world, like it's all about uniqueness right now, which actually kind of adds into to as well like why uniqueness really sits as a really solid category. Like I didn't think uniqueness was going to be that much of a category, and then I started writing and I'm like, holy crap, this is like one of, if not the most important category towards this game too, because like that you could have a really awesome game and then like It's not unique. It's based, like you could just recreate Mario Brothers and like, I mean, like cool. Like by definition, it plays great and everything, but like there's no uniqueness to it. You just copied. So like you get a 1 or a 0 in that case. So like, how? Okay, here we go. Here we go, everybody. I'm gonna throw Speed a curveball here.
Hit it.
How would you rate my review on the 6 to 6 hexagonal categories?
For in terms of like all of them, do we have time?
Yeah, we got time. We got time. We're making great time. Come on, let's hear
Okay.
it.
What are the things?
Look, you got okay, so you have graphics, you have music, you have story, you have difficulty and pacing. I can't remember. You have uniqueness, and then what's the last one? Graphics, story, music, difficulties and pacing, uniqueness. I can't remember the last one. Controls.
Okay, 0
Control.
out of 10.
There.
How am I supposed to rate you on control?
I don't know. Just
Was it easy to click on the video? Was I able to type in the chat replay? Like what? Man, I can't do this. This is your review thing, man. You review yourself. So, but I guess if I were to say uniqueness, I don't think you should seek it. I hope it comes more naturally as you keep hammering this out. You'll find like, oh, I'll do it like this and stuff like that. Because like I think of like how I'll again refer to Brutal Moose. He does it in a VHS style or like an old style with like Tim and Eric kind of editing, and like I haven't really seen anyone else really do that. A lot of people will do like they'll cut to them being like just talking, and it's like, and then the filter will become red, and they'll zoom in on them, and then become all like crusty and angry.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's hard to rank like reviews in that regard. It's kind of by feel. So I don't know. I think that you're on to something in that regard, though, for sure. It's only your first one.
That's the exciting thing too.
For
like I got plenty more coming down the pipeline for sure. I get the frustrating thing right now is that like I've been in this frustration now for a long time, and I'm really trying my best to figure out how to go about this. Is like if you look behind me right now, you will see all of those games and stuff, and like there's a lot of them that aren't beat, and there's a lot of them that I just kind of want to play and stuff. And I'm in this frustration right now where it's just like, do I save games for reviews? Do I save games for stream? Do I save games just because like there's other instances or opportunities to do stuff like that? And like then there's just like, I want to play a game. So like there's this frustration now of just like, which direction do I go for the next review and stuff. So
involve Kea.
I'm trying, man. Look, she if you want to donate $10,000 for a contract for Kea to come join, because that's her going rate right now is $10,000 for 2 minutes. So
well, just throw her a piece of bread and then call it a day.
She wants the most premier $10,000 piece of gold bread possible. Like, how else am I supposed to go about this?
What is she? Who am I? Who's the lawyer that's like their going rate is 10,000? Matlock.
That's a lot.
No, is it Matlock? Or, no, it's a show.
I'd better win if I'm paying that much. Like, I feel like there's a lawsuit in its own regard if I don't win and I pay that much. So it's almost a scam, really.
I mean, he wins most of the time in the show.
Hey, if he wins, if he's like 50,000 and 0, like by all means, I'd maybe warrant that as being a decent price for a guaranteed win. But like, at the same time, like a lot of questions and stuff kind of going in there.
Well, so I guess do you want to start wrapping up this segment?
We should definitely stop. All right, let's start.
I guess if I were just to say, like, just looking back at reviews in general, like, I don't know who my first one was. I think a lot of people will say AVGN, and I kind of want to say Angry Video Game Nerd as well. But at the same time, I don't think I was watching him in front of my parents because I was using a family computer for
honestly,
a while.
I remember myself watching AVGN when I was like 15 or 16, I think. And I remember just like laying in bed and just watching AVGN videos like over and over and over again because they were just so funny at the time. Like, it was just he was like one. I mean, he was an OG reviewer and stuff, and he was different in that, not even so much in the regard of just like being funny for being a negative reviewer and stuff like that, but more so just in the sense of like there wasn't that much else out there at the time. YouTube was still brand new. People are
Right.
still confused
And
on what they
I
were
see,
doing with it.
like,
And also,
I think that's an inspiration for you because he kind of tells a story with them. He definitely tells a story with a lot of his reviews
and
as
and
well.
really like my inspirations like from that era too weren't even just the AVGN, because like the AVGN, like if you go back to his roots, he was with the Screw Attack brand, which is
Yeah.
defunct now. And like they were also a big thing that I used to watch. I remember watching a video from them every week and being exciting. And I know that like once a week they'd do what's called a video game vault, which is literally just a review of playing the game. It was a little bit more simplistic. Most of them were only like 3 or 5 minutes long at that point, and that was just because video storage and stuff back then was such an absolute nightmare. For you youngsters out there, and I'm gonna be old man Carl here for a second. Really
Okay.
appreciate how much data and data transfer has come, because let me tell you, when it was too much to upload a gigabyte of data to the internet, like, oh my god. And like when you think about like my streams from way back in the day, from like 2010 and stuff, like and when I had my basic 480i capture card, like even that was still like a big huge haul on internet and stuff, just because the data from that time was so big compared to now. Like you spoiled little brats with your 1080p and 4K transfer rates availability and stuff now. So I'm just kidding. I love it. That's great. It's believe me, I'm happy to upload 1080p videos now.
But then we gotta hit that 4K branch. Oh no.
But yeah, that's who I'd say. Like, and I remember I wouldn't say I base a lot of my stuff off of them, but like there's definitely like formats and stuff that I've kind of taken from over the time. That give inspiration from the Screw Attack days and the AVGN days of very early.
and the gaming in the Clinton years.
Oh my
This is Super Mario RPG, and it's stupid. Dude, there's a AI voice of him now. So if like I make a game, I'm going to release a fake review of him reviewing my. Carl's taking a drink. He's
I'm trying to finish my
letting that in.
tea.
So yeah, let's finish this topic. I think we talked quite a bit on the process of it, and I hope that it was. I think the fun of this kind of thing is like you get a little more insight on like how Carl views things and how he approaches things. I didn't really have much input, and I just asked the questions. I was like, this was an interview. But let me ask a question to you guys. So like, what do you all prefer or look for in a review? Like, what do you guys feel like? A review has to have it. Obviously, that's not gonna. Carl just talked about how he might not take that critique, but like I still think it's kind of neat to like. And what were your first reviewers like? Just some of those things. So if you'd like to discuss that, or do you have any other topics you'd like us to discuss, you could put that in the comments below on the YouTube video, or even reach out to our email, which is please don't email this podcast at gmail.com. It might be preferable to just go into the comments, but if you'd like us to read an email, I'm always checking that just because it's on my phone. So what about you, Carl? Any final thoughts on that? And
Honestly, I want to kind of get this wrapped up too myself. Not I don't have too much else to kind of like say about Project Force, because like I think I've kind of gotten everything that I honestly wanted to talk. I mean, there's the thing too is that like this is where questions and comments like from you guys, because I try to read every single comment possible. Sometimes it's a matter of just YouTube sometimes doesn't even just show it just because random reasons and stuff, but sometimes I can only with my limited time, I'm only able to get to so many things possible. So with Speed being able to also, being the other half of this, literally, he's also able to answer a lot of comments too. So whatever I don't end up getting an answer to, he might be able to chime in and step in, or even just alert me and be like, hey, you should answer this comment or question.
boom.
But yeah, I love listening and reading comments when I do get the chance to. Even if they are negative, like there's still just the fact that like you took the time to like bother with telling me that I'm a piece of garbage and
Smelly,
yeah.
booger brain.
Like, please don't fill this entire chat with that. It's gonna be filled up now. We've sealed the deal.
Sealed the deal. It's all
just
booger brain and
just
smelly
remember, okay?
hair.
I just want you guys to understand and remember. If you fill the comment, if you start your comment with "Hey, booger brain," and then you ramble on about your question, I'm gonna return the comment and be like, "Don't be like Troy," because that's how Troy would start out a message to me. All right. So unless you're Troy, in which case, hi Troy. Troy's my best friend. Of course, you probably know him on the channel here as Troy. You can also.
Or Boogie Mushroom, which he does not no longer goes
so
by.
He does not go by. He is not Boogie Mushroom. Do not reference
Yeah,
him.
if he calls you Booger Brain, call him Boogie Mushroom.
Oh my god. Okay.
So to wrap things up, what are you gonna be doing from here on out besides Project Chase?
Yeah. So Project Chase is definitely down the works right now. Like I said, I'm probably about a solid halfway through everything with that. On the flip side, so I of course also stream and speed streams too. As you talked about in the beginning here, I stream at twitch.tv/Carl101. Speed streams at twitch.tv/SpeedSlasher.
Right.
So currently, right now, I have been working my butt off playing nothing but Stardew Valley for the past 2 months.
And that's about to wrap up. Though.
It
It should be like this week.
It is. I'm part of me is kind of sad, but part of me is like, oh my god, I'm so glad we're gonna move on to something else. I've learned over the years because people are like, why don't you just try to enjoy games more? Why don't you try to enjoy games more? And like part of it is just that I like enjoying the finishing of a game. There's something decently satisfying to me when I get that finished game done. It doesn't mean I just want to necessarily sit there and rush through games, but like I thought about this for a while, and I thought about this happens more so with RPGs, but like everybody kind of gets to, and I'm going to call this third disc syndrome. And this is based off solely on Final Fantasy VII, because we all get to that point. We get to disc 3. And in disc 3 of Final Fantasy VII is you either go to the end of the game and finish the game, or you start clearing up every single little thing that you want to / need to clear up, because that's just part of, the aesthetic of wanting to do the game. And like for the first like 2 hours of doing that, yeah, it's great. It's fantastic. You really get yourself like accomplished. Until you realize that you have 34 more hours of stuff to do. And then you know what happens is you play less, you play less, you play less.
And then
you don't finish it. And then 5 years goes by.
Like my sister in Pokemon games.
Yeah, then 5 years goes by and you're you don't have that save file just sitting there, but oh god, I don't remember what's going on in the game. I don't know.
Yeah, I gotta start.
Yeah,
over.
then you start over, and then you get to the disc 3 again, and you're like, oh.
Stop.
So
but at least with Stardew Valley is I was just telling him, because it's a game I've wanted to play, but it's at this point I've watched Carl play most of it. I'm still probably wanting to play it, but maybe multiplayer. But his end goal is just seeing what happens when Grandpa. Sorry, spoilers. When Grandpa is ghostly ghost comes back and on the third year day
is he gonna give me a hexagonal rating, a review of my farm?
You'll have to tune in to your own stream to find out. Besides that, though, Carl's been thinking of playing Hades next, and there's other games as well that you kind of you were kind of interested in Sir, You're Being Hunted.
Yeah,
I think that'd be kind of funny as a one.
Yeah.
And then there's other games.
And speaking of dreams, I also had an interest of sometime loading up a round of dreams because you did that too on your stream and you had a pretty decent time.
Yeah. I'd love to see what's going on with that now, because there's some fully fledged stuff going on, and it's
and I
want to
make sure
I don't have a PS4.
Yeah, I want to make sure I get into that, because if I don't, then it's definitely going to be the servers will just randomly shut down one day because PlayStation, but it's for another.
So I'd say, for Carl's end, expect Stardew next week, or this following week, and then he might do one off, or he might just hit a Hades.
Yeah, I don't know.
Carl's is down to water.
Well, here's the thing: is I'll talk about Stardew really quick. With Stardew Valley, I wasn't actually planning or expecting on playing that at all on stream. One day, I was literally perusing my shelves. I have another shelf to the right, which is where Stardew would sit with the other Switch games there. And I was like, screw it. I want to play this now. Like, seriously. Like, probably not even 15 minutes prior to the stream, I'm sitting there. I'm just like, oh my god, I got to make the overlay for this. Oh my god, but I really want to play this. And I was like, ah! And then it happened. And then 60 hours, 65. I think we're gonna go into 70. I'm pretty sure that because like I have the little hour marking that tracks like how many hours you play the game, and I'm pretty sure it's at 65 now. And based on what I got, because there's going to be probably 2 more streams left to go of that, it's probably going to cross over into 70, probably around 72 hours.
Which is a fair amount.
I mean, that's pretty good, like, to keep me still kind of like focused and stuff. Now, I mean, comparatively to a lot of other people who have played the game, and comparatively to other games out there, like, yeah, it's not the greatest amount, but like for some people, like like when you think about like AAA games that are story driven and stuff, like those sit in that nice sweet spot of about 8 to 10 hours. Like any more than that, then your player base gets bored, and any less than that, like then players start to get concerned on whether or not the $60
or they don't have time.
Yeah. And
well.
like that's the thing is like people only have so much time in their life, so like you have to kind of do what you can to.
Long gone are our days of, hey, we got an RPG. I am going to spend 120 hours in 2 days to beat it, which is very sad. Like I don't know when Carl will ever like have time for like Persona.
Yeah, that's funny because like I was considering that. I'm like, yeah, I'll do Persona for a review, and I'm like, I don't want to retract that statement right now. I mean, I know
Carl, that long play of Super Mario RPG is quite long. I don't know if you have 100 hours to upload.
Yeah, that's the thing is that it's so at some point like those long plays are going to be segmented into multiple videos because they just have to be. Like there's just no other way to do it, especially with some of those games. And like there's a website I love to look at, but I also hate looking at it because I feel like it ruins my want to play some games. But like howlongtobeat.com, seriously, like if you go on there and just want to get an idea of like, okay, how long am I going to be actually playing this game for? Like it's a great tool for that. But at the same time, like you look at games like Persona 5 and you're like, okay, do I want to spend the next 5 months?
And meanwhile, one of our viewers, Will, has just done their fifth replay.
Yeah, even like even games like what did I do? 3 Houses, Fire Emblem.
Yeah, that's a long
and it's not nearly. That was only 60 hours, give or take.
I think it's fun that you're doing like kind of like this. Each year you take one long game and boom.
Yeah, pretty much. So.
Like Sarah was pretty long.
So, and, that's the thing too is that like that's where a lot of the criticism kind of like. Don't be offended if I don't take a criticism right away. Because sometimes, and I think this is with a lot of humans too, like sometimes you just gotta let the criticism kind of sit on. It's almost like if I take it right away, that might be too raw. It's raw. So
okay, well, if I can just quickly
please.
talk about what I'm. So I've been doing Mario Paint throughout May. I'm gonna see if I could do Cheaper Room. I think I actually need to like play it a little off stream just to see if like it will explode because I can't use I had to so you can't just pull out the old DS here and then just do like a hey let's play.
you can't just sit there and translate the Japanese version and 1-to-1 while you play. Come on!
I wish.
Are you even a gamer?
I should send you a Japanese word right now and have you pronounce it. I'm still going through as well Story Seasons Pioneers of Olive Town. That game's pacing is definitely different. So Carl got through 2 years, almost done with 2 years. He's in winter now.
Yep.
In 60 hours. I'm in summer and I've taken 85 hours or so, 83, give or take. I'd like to see the end of year 2 as well, but I'm also wondering if I'm also hitting disc 3 conundrums with it.
Yeah.
So I'll see.
I love that I coined the term for that, but like it's so true. Like
Yeah, put that on TV tropes or
I
whatever.
mean, like it's not entirely like disc 3 for everything, because like obviously for Final Fantasy 8 it's disc 4 syndrome. Actually, no, it is disc 3 syndrome because like there's some point in disc 3 where like you either go forward and then like things radically change and you can't go back, or you sit there and you do everything else. It's disc 3 syndrome. I guarantee it. That is where this all became an issue. Final Fantasy 7. I love you. You're a great game. Disc 3 syndrome. It's just what it is. We need T-shirts that say disc 3 syndrome.
You're gonna see this in a review, so it's more official.
If I ever review Final Fantasy 7, I'm gonna make sure I put a whole segment of that game. Just call it disc 3
You
syndrome.
know what it should do? It should, like, obviously you're not taking input, but keep this in mind. Once you say, all right, you're going through, and then cuts to black, and then in big text, disc 3 syndrome, and then it fades you in like monochrome. Have you or a loved one ever experienced disc 3 syndrome? I'm sorry if I spoiled the joke.
No, it's too good not to.
It might happen.
We should title this podcast Disc 3 Syndrome.
Oh, right. We had to think of a title. So, yeah, we're definitely changing up a lot of the layout here. Let us know what you thought. I hope it's pleasing. So where can people find you, Carl?
Yeah, so you can... I'm all over the place now these days, trying to really game social media and everything for the benefit of everything, really. But you can definitely find me on Twitter, at Carl101, pretty much the self-explanatory. You can find me on Instagram. Right now, I've been slowly just kind of like updating stories or just updating pictures and stuff that have just been kind of going on in my life. I've kind of been a little lackluster these last few days, but today, let me tell you, because I'm going to go see a concert today, you'll see something on that for sure. Probably tomorrow in that case, or the day of that you're watching this now. You can also find me on Reddit. It's dash Carl101 dash there. It's where I just kind of upload a lot of stuff to other different Reddits and kind of like other stuff from Reddit's there too. So, and then of course, youtube.com/Carl101 and twitch.tv/Carl101. I stream Monday and Tuesday, like almost regularly. There's never too much reason why I wouldn't stream unless I get into a car crash or anything like that. But that's when does that ever happen? And then sometimes Fridays too. Fridays are kind of back and forth on whether or not, because since I'm in a band and everything now, like sometimes I'll have gigs and Friday's a big gig day, so it's all dependent on what my schedule is for that week.
I kind of want to quickly. We did not even talk about that. You got to.
Yeah, I mean, I'll. So I've been the reason why we didn't want to go into it isn't anything to do with.
Yeah, it's a long.
And more so, I talked a lot about it already on stream to everybody, so I didn't really feel like. The premise was just to kind of go quickly into it. I got into an accident where I got literally merged into by a semi truck. Yes, a full 18-wheeler semi truck. My car got completely totaled. I walked away from the crash. All I had was a little whiplash in my neck, so it kind of just hurt to look left and right for like 2 to 3 days, and I was totally fine. Didn't hit my head or anything like that. I guess like really quick.
He's still here to do the podcast.
To kind of just like put it, just because I feel like I should mention AJ. AJ was my Mitsubishi Eclipse. I actually don't have I wasn't planning on doing this, but I have his badge emblem, which I'm going to keep with me for the rest of my life now. I lost my friend into that crash. I love that car and everything, and I'm really sad that I had to let it go like that, but that is just life, I guess, in that sense. So I kept the badge to remember a friend who literally saved my life. Otherwise I would have died in that crash probably.
Thank you, AJ Styles, for your service. So this is an awkward thing. You can find me on Twitter.
Oh yeah.
At Flame Cannon, the Roman numeral for 3. So Flame Cannon the third, basically. Or you can find me at Twitch at SpeedSlasher. I don't really have as much social media as Carl does, but if you want to see, there's a giveaway. I'm often retweeting like cheap blank gamers stuff on there, and I also post art there. But I mean, that's primarily the point of the Twitter, though. You'd also find me on Tumblr, actually, now I think about it. But at Flame Cannon the third. Like actually spelled out. See, it's confusing. Like Carl is all like, boom, I'm Carl at everything. Here I'm like, I'm Flame Cannon. Here I'm Pyrant. There I'm Retrodosity. So Well, I think that was the podcast.
Yeah. So I hope you've enjoyed everything that we've had to talk about today and blabber on about today. Looks like we got almost like a perfect 90 minutes, honestly speaking. So like I'm pretty happy with that. We were also talking one last thing before we go here. The length of the podcast are probably going to be a little bit shorter than what we've been used to.
Not the 2 hour.
We used to like be trying to like 2 to 3 hours, which is quite a long time to be talking. But now that we're without chat and everything, and now that we're not just streaming, and we're putting quite a bit more professionalism into this, it's going to be on the shorter side, which I think is going to be better off for everybody. So, I hope you enjoyed our podcast for today. Any last things you want to say before we head out here?
No.
Okay. Well,
good time.
Yeah. Well, hold on. One more thing. So for formats, we are looking at the podcast doing once every other week. So this will be a bi-weekly thing. So you can catch us next time 2 weeks from today when this podcast goes out. Yeah. So with that, thank you everybody. My name is Carl101.
I'm SpeedSlasher.
And we'll see you next time.
Sometimes.
Bye.
Good night. It's not good night because it could be any time we watch it.